Kyle Busch says Joe Gibbs denied his Indy 500 attempt a few years ago. Plus, Harrison Burton returns to the Cup Series, kind of. And could we really not see any commercials full screen on Amazon in a few weeks? Welcome back to the Breaking Bob channel. Hope y'all are doing well for this Monday afternoon. Lot to get into today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Always talking NASCAR and racing on a daily basis. We've got, of course, the weekend's channel thoughts from Kansas are on this posted. If you missed that, Kyle Larson whipping the field yesterday, but a potential rivalry born from the lower series with Carson Hostvar and Corey Heim-Budden. But anyway, let's get into what's going on today in the news in the NASCAR world, because it never seems to slow down. And today we're going to start off with the off-track stuff. Sports Business Journal reporting that Amazon has virtually sold out their entire advertising allotment for their 5-race slot here in a few weeks. Amazon's head of U.S. video and live sports sales, Danielle Carney, spoke to SBJ and even talked about some of their plans. Quote, "We're excited the strong interest again in driving new advertisers, and we have a new format describing a 2-box commercial format that will run throughout races." 2-box format. Hold on a second. Is that what I think it means? Does that mean we're not going to see a full screen ad in the 5 races on Amazon? Oh, say it ain't so. Could that be real? Someone tell Fox and Artie Kempner it is possible to do that. Not just for super speedway racing, for all of their races for the 5 races. Road courses, ovals, super speedways, doesn't matter. They're going to be, it sounds like, doing a different format. Now, it is different because they're on streaming. So it's a little bit different selling the advertising rights because you're not on cable, you're not on broadcast. Amazon does have a little bit more leeway, and they have the flexibility because it's their own streaming service platform. This is basically a write-off for them. It's another way for them to advertise their marketing and streaming services. But for NASCAR fans, it's a big, big W because it sounds like Amazon's going to bring a lot of new, fresh ideas. A lot of advertising, it sounds like, is being sold through Amazon, so that's exciting for the sport as well. But that last part there, 2-box commercial format, woo, we might have something cooking with Amazon. It was also announced today, this weekend, the North Wilkesboro All-Star Race is coming up, and with that, you almost forget the format, how you lock yourself into the main event. But one of those ways is to win a race. That has not changed since the old days. And one of the drivers that won a race last year in the NASCAR Cup Series that isn't in the Cup Series this year is Harrison Burton, of course, winning that penultimate regular season race at Daytona. We all remember Lee Diffie's call, "Jeff, your little boy's done it." It was a great moment for the sport, even if everyone kind of did poke at the playoff eligibility, I guess you will, how the guy who was 30-something them points won. Anyway, not discrediting Harris Burton. It was a great story. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the exciting news this weekend that he will be back in the NASCAR Cup Series for a one-off race this weekend, as he is eligible for the main event in the All-Star race for winning that Daytona race. He will be in the number 51 Rick Ware Racing Ford for this weekend. Now, that means Cody Ware will get dropped down to the 0-1. That's okay. He will be racing in the open event, but for Harrison Burton, very excited to see him back in the Cup Series. He's, of course, back in the Xfinity Series this year, running with AM Racing in that 25 team full-time. Really elevated them. He's 10th in points. He's got a top 5, a couple of top 10s, and 2 stage wins as well. Some results haven't gone his way, but I think he's brought speed to a team that nobody really expected. And this is a former Xfinity winner, Cup winner as well. So for him to get back in the Cup Series for a one-off, you might as well get the eligibility. You won last year. And for Rick Ware Racing, this will be the first time they've ever made the All-Star main event. So it makes sense for them. It works for the Fords to have another car in the All-Star main event for sponsorship for everyone. It makes sense. So glad to see Harrison Burton getting another opportunity in the Cup Series. And I would imagine you'll probably see him in the Cup Series full-time. Maybe not next year, but I would imagine 2027, maybe even 2028. He's talented enough. And let's get into the main part of today's video. It's definitely clickbaity. It's definitely, whoa, what is that headline kind of story? But today, Kyle Busch made an appearance on Denny Hamlin's podcast, Actions Detrimental. And, well, it was just 2 former JGR teammates yucking it up. It's a great listen. I'll link it down below. It's worth your time. It's definitely a great recap. But later in the podcast, almost an hour in, they get to talking about Kyle Larson's Indy 500 attempt and Kyle's brother Kurt, how he did it, and I believe it was 2014. Everyone's always talked about Rowdy doing the double. Well, he went on record today and talked about a potential Indy 500 run, squashing it, saying it's done, it's over. But there was once a chance. Listen to this.
2017, I had it. It was all done. M&Ms was going to do it.
Wow.
Guess who said no?
Joe Gibbs. Yeah.
Yep. Chevrolet was okay with it. Toyota was okay with it. M&Ms was paying for it.
Well, how about that? Joe Gibbs squashing an Indy 500 attempt for Kyle Busch. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but for most NASCAR fans, they know up until this year, there's been a long-standing open wheel ban in the JGR garage. Their drivers are not allowed to compete. They've had Christopher Bell locked up and chained in the offseason while he's been begging to run dirt races. But that has changed this year. And part of that was Chase Briscoe getting signed. Ty Gibbs, of course, coach's grandson, has been itching to get in the dirt tracks. And he's actually done well in his dirt series attempts this year, making the main events for both high limit racing debuts for him. But let's go back anyway. Hold on. Let's go back. Kyle Busch in the Indy 500, sponsored by M&Ms for a McLaren Chevrolet. It got greenlit by both Chevrolet and Toyota. This would have fed families. The diecast would have gone triple platinum, no features. It would have just, can you imagine, genuinely, because the M&Ms merch already incredible. We miss it already in the NASCAR world, but could you imagine it with a crossover event in the Indy 500? I mean, you literally see right there the Kyle Larson double diecasts. Imagine an M&Ms double for Kyle Busch. It's a missed opportunity, but it's not really shocking. Again, Joe Gibbs was very anti his drivers doing anything outside of his NASCAR. Denny Hamlin talked about right after that clip that he was denied a 24 hours of, I believe it was Daytona entry because JGR couldn't control the cars. That was the safety thing. Kyle Busch did, kind of bounce back and say, well, I got to do my 24 hours. I don't know who you talk to, but man, just makes you wonder how many of these attempts or crossovers or one-offs for different sports series we could have had NASCAR stars in. But Kyle Busch and an M&M's backed McLaren entry in the Indy 500 back, and I think he said 2017. But you know how it goes. You can't get everyone to sign off on it, and Joe Gibbs is the main one that has to sign off on it, unfortunately. He's the one that was signing those paychecks back in the day for Kyle Busch. Not anymore, but back in the day, and just disappointing. But let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think about Kyle Busch talking about this Indy 500? Do you think it's too late for Rowdy, or do you think maybe we could call up Mars and maybe make this happen one time? My man can dream, I guess. But regardless, we talked about that. Harrison Burton in the All-Star race this weekend, and Amazon, potentially no full break commercials for the NASCAR race this summer, all 5 of them. Excited for that. But like this video if you like what you saw. Subscribe to the channel for more NASCAR content. It helps me out a ton. We'll never know what's coming up on the docket. Kyle Busch just kind of dropping a nuke on us this afternoon. But stay tuned for more, folks. We got the All-Star race this weekend, plus the trucks. And, of course, it's the month of May. The Indy 500 is here. And Kyle Larson is currently in Indianapolis. Excited for all the content to come this next few weeks. Stay tuned for more.